Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 2 for this news report today for Wednesday, June 12th, 2013. I'm ready to go, and the first article I have is Zionist minister admits Assad may win. So Syrian President Assad may succeed in crushing the 2-year-old violent uprising against his rule to support of Iran, Hezbollah, the Zionist intelligence minister expressed on Monday. It might be the case that at the end of the day Assad might get the upper hand, said Steinitz, Minister of International Affairs. Says here that, and I think that this is possible, and I thought that this is possible already a long time ago. I found this video just the other day. Israeli weapons used by Free Syrian Army or rebels discovered in Qasir. So you can go there and check it out. So they discovered several Israeli-made weaponry with Hebrew writings on them in Qasir, in the neighboring town of eastern Badwada. The weapons included mortar shells, submachine guns, RPGs, gas masks, and communication devices. Next up, Syrians want to go on living in secular tolerant state. The people didn't see Syria as perfect before the civil war, but it was a secular tolerant state which will be lost if Islamist rebels prevail, says European MP Nick Griffin. So he says he's in Damascus with a fact-finding delegation. When asked the question, do you expect the U.S. to go ahead with weapon supplies to the opposition, it says here, given the army gains we've seen, he says, I fear that the U.S. will go ahead with these supplying of the rebels with weapons. There are a number of people and organizations and countries involved in this criminal drive to destroy secular Syria. One of them is the United States government, not ordinary American people. Most Americans oppose U.S. military intervention in Syria. A new poll has again pointed to the opposition of most Americans to a U.S. military intervention in Syria amid reports that Obama is meeting with advisors this week to discuss sending arms to the foreign-backed militants in the nation. It says the identical results of the poll's studies appears to indicate that nearly 2/3 of Americans are against any U.S. military role in Syria, reflecting fears of another U.S. foreign war resembling the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq. And most people say, oh, they're just Muslim on Muslims, just more Muslim on Muslim killings. Let them kill each other off. That's what I see in the comment boards. But what is reassuring, I can tell you this, is in the comment boards, is that there's a lot more people that are recognizing the rebels for what they are. They are terrorists. The U.S. is arming terrorists, and they see the Assad government as secular and tolerant and all that. And basically, anything that's going to replace that is going to be a lot worse unless it's done by the people. I think most of you are already aware, just like in the comment boards, that these are not Syrians. These are not the people. These are foreign jihadists. So, and like some other people have made comments in the past week that I agree with, which is it's not even really a sectarian war. These people, like in my video, Enemies at the Gates of Syria, you see one of the individuals saying that these are not Muslims. These are they call them infidels, of course, but basically they don't adhere to Muslim principles. So I mean a lot of them are like drug addicts and stuff like that. They're mercenaries. And they're being used, these Sunni Arabs, along with, like, I'm not saying that Saudi Arabia is being used, but the Saudi Arabia, Qatar, they're all using these mercenaries, these Arab Sunni mercenaries, with Israel. And you wonder, why are they working together, Israel and the Arabs? Don't they hate each other? Well, they're all working together, these Gulf monarchies and Israel, to provide energy pipelines going through, of course, through what? Through Lebanon and Syria into Turkey and into Europe to compete with and isolate Russia. Then I know some people say it's not about the resources, it's about creating refugees, which I agree with, but I also think everything's a business. So, Syrian rebels kill 60 Shi'ites in eastern village, so this is a massacre. Rebels claim most were militiamen, as government reports massacre. Syrian government officials are condemning what they call the massacre in the eastern village of this Hatla al-Dir Azur. Pro-rebel Syrian observatory confirmed the incident, saying at least 60 Shiites were killed in the rebel offensive against the Shiite village. Though predominantly Sunni, Syria has for centuries had a large numbers of religious minorities, including significant Shiite, Druze, Christian populations. The various religions had mostly lived peacefully side by side until the recent civil war broke out. A new sample of Syrian militants' brutality: a teenager shot dead in front of family. So an extremist opposition group killed a Syrian teenager on Sunday in front of his family in the city of Aleppo. There's graphic images of the 15-year-old Mohammed Kata, a coffee seller, and says here, appeared on the internet. So the boy had been shot in the mouth and through the neck. One report suggested that the other boy had attempted to get a free coffee, leading to Qatar to say that even if Prophet Muhammad comes down, I will not give it as debt. So the unidentified Islamist rebel group said here that they accused him of blasphemy. Lebanese Army warns there is a plot to drag Lebanon into Syria war. This is what I was talking about, right? Creating all this instability. Well, they've been having it going in Iraq for a while, but also in Turkey and, of course, Lebanon and in Jordan. Lebanon is keen to avoid a repeat of sectarian nightmare which plunged the country into 15 years of civil war. It says the scars are still visible, not just physically, but politically. It says now the scene is set for a possible repeat. So this former Lebanese Prime Minister Hariri has strong moderate Sunni support in Lebanon, with Islamic Hezbollah for intervening in Syria, saying that they're sending hundreds of Lebanese to fight alongside the regime forces, participate invading Syrian villages and towns. Now, this is something that I've covered before. That, from what I know, is not true. The Hezbollah is basically operating where the terrorists are operating from, and that is near Israel. That they have a little loophole. Legal loophole that they're able to be there near the Golan Heights area and along the border area. So no, they're not going all across Syria and helping in that regards. They're just helping along the Lebanese-Syria border near Israel. And of course, you have the rebels kidnapping UN workers. No reprisals, no responsibility for their actions. Nobody says anything. Nobody condemns and with tears and those poor UN workers. But Austria just recently pulled their peacekeepers or whatever out of that area. Russia volunteered to take their place, but of course the UN and that said it goes against Security Council referendum, basically protocols. Okay, next up we have Syrian rebel rockets hit northern Lebanon neighborhood, killing one. Several civilians were wounded. So rebels launched multiple rocket attacks against the Lebanese town of Hermel today. So they say here that the rebels have been firing these rockets at predominantly Shiite neighborhoods in Lebanon in retaliation for the Lebanese military Hezbollah's aid to Syrian government. Zionist troops violate Lebanon's sovereignty. See, now the thing is, you're saying retaliation. See, that's the narrative they're carrying out. It could just be that they're losing and they're trying to create, they're trying to drag Lebanon into the war, like I said. Zionist troops violate Lebanon's sovereignty and pass technical fence. Zionist military unit passed the technical fence between Lebanon and the occupied Palestine territories on Wednesday and entered the Lebanese border town. So they were guarded by tanks and military bulldozer. In 2006, the war on Lebanon, Zionist entity had spared no chance to violate the Lebanese sovereignty in flagrant breachings of UN Resolution 1701. They also fly over their airspace as well on a daily basis. Lebanon complains to UN over Israeli violations. So Lebanese president says here, ordered the foreign minister to file a complaint with the United Nations over Israeli violations of Lebanese airspace. Next up, we have Syrian Army progression must be stopped, says French foreign minister. So it says here, we must stop this progression before Aleppo. It's the next target of Hezbollah. It says we need to rebalance things because over the past few weeks, the troops of Assad and especially Hezbollah have gained considerable ground. So it says here, John Kerry cleared his schedule to discuss arming Syrian rebels. According to the AP, he pushed back his Mideast trip this week because the White House is planning to discuss sending weapons to some rebel groups. You have the UK, who's voting on sending them weapons, and of course, French President Holland actually received a peace prize or something, basically an award. Amidst what they're doing there and supporting there in Syria, along with what's going on in Mali. Mossad chief meets head of Turkish intelligence secretly. The head of the Zionist Mossad, Mr. Pardo, met secretly with the Turkish intelligence agency undersecretary on June 10th in Ankara, with Syria and Iran on the agenda. They discussed a protest that started 2 weeks ago to oppose an investment project in Istanbul's Taksim Park and turned to be nationwide protests against Erdogan. I already covered this, but I thought I'd just include it in with this report. Iran has dismantled a terror network backed by Israel's Mossad intelligence services, which plan to disrupt the upcoming presidential election. So they claim to have stopped Mossad terror network. That was from the 2nd of June. Holocaust reparations, Germany to pay 772 million euros to survivors. So there's been stories about people in Peru that have been sterilized by force. the North Carolina victims of eugenics. They never received any compensation. But, you know, there you go. The German government is committed to pay nearly 800 million euros for the care of elderly Holocaust survivors as a result of negotiations in Israel between Berlin and a fund for Jewish victims of Nazi aggression. So nearly 60,000 people will benefit from the aid money. Israeli Prime Minister warns of another Holocaust from Iran. So he says here that he began his 2-day visit in Poland. It says here where Nazis occupied during World War II and where they committed the worst crimes ever against the Jewish people, with a stern warning about a potential Holocaust from Iran. It says this is a regime that is building nuclear weapons with the express purpose to annihilate Israel's 6 million Jews. And it's interesting they use that number again, alluding to the number of Jews killed by Nazis during World War II. I heard this. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but the whole 6 million came up as opposed to the number of jobs that were created. 50% unemployment brought down to zero, created 6 million jobs within the first 2 years of the Reich, and they try to use that propaganda and twist it and turn it into something like this. You know, talking about the burning, the Holocaust. It was a sacrifice by Zionists so that nobody can ever speak out against them and what they're doing. It's a pretty good strategy, man. It's genius. Infographic, choosing Iran's next president. So it says here, choosing Iran's next president. How the election works. The 11th election of the President of the Islamic Republic takes place on Friday, June 14th. The last one was in 2009, next in 2017. If no candidate wins 50%, a runoff will be held on June 21st. The winner becomes the 7th president of the country. The president is the highest official elected by direct popular vote, holds the second most position after the supreme leader. As far as the ideological divisions go, it says here the main two legal political camps in Iran are loose alignments. Conservative principalists, says here, sometimes referred to in English as the neo-fundamentalists or neoconservatives. Says here they have 182 seats. Right-wing coalition mixes hardline religiosity with nationalism and includes outgoing President Ahmadinejad's party. Reformist, moderate opposition group founded in 1997 to support Mr. Khatami's plan to liberalize within the confines of Islamic democracy. So it says here that the group is economically centrist but slightly more left-leaning on social issues. Former presidents endorsed moderate Hassan Rouhani. So this Khatami, seen as a leader of Iran's reformists, and this Rafsanjani backed former nuclear negotiator. And Putin's coming out with all kinds of quotes now after the divorce thing. Putin defends Iran nuke program but pans anti-Israel rhetoric. The Russian leader slams Tehran for rejecting Moscow's offer to enrich its uranium and criticizes the U.S. for exaggerating the Iranian threat. Israel hasn't given up on persuading Russia not to send air defense systems to Syria. So even though Syria says or confirmed that they received them, the S-300 anti-aircraft missiles, Russia says that they haven't. Also, Israel says that they haven't received them either. American Jews funded $2.2 million, Jim, for Israel's Mossad. So it says here that Israel's spy agency has been authorized to receive a donation from the Friends of the IDF, but Mossad members aren't young draftees, they're well-paid professionals. To be able to train in a modern gym, Israeli spies have turned to American Jewry. And Mexico talked to Israeli officials on ways to crack down on the kind of a separatist group of indigenous people. So they said here they held talks with Israeli military officials in a way to crack down the Zapatistas in the southern state of Chiapas. According to the report, Israeli personnel were sent to the area in response to the 94 Zapatista uprising. It occurred on the day of the North American Free Trade Agreement went into effect. Remember, I was just talking about this Colombia, good fit for NATO, so they're thinking about joining NATO, Colombia. Israel and Colombia signed free trade agreement from June 10th, so move opens new market and strengthens Israel's position in Latin America. Colombia's president awarded the Shalom Prize. It was awarded by the Latin American chapter of the World Jewish Congress. Strong reaction from Bolivarian countries to Colombia's cooperation with NATO. I wondered about this. So it says they irked the so-called group of anti-imperialist countries, that's what I call them as well, at the moment when relations between neighboring Colombia and Venezuela have hit a new low. Evo Morales said that there was a threat of provocation and conspiracy against the anti-imperialist Bolivarian countries on the continent. U.S. and Venezuela to engage in high-level dialogue, says John Kerry. U.S. military says they want more drones in Latin America, as Colombia has been identified as the secret Israeli UAV buyer. Venezuela frees and expels spying U.S. filmmaker Timothy Tracy as 9 planning to kill Maduro has been basically foiled. Thank you.